All right. So once again, with Java versus Rust series today. And if you have watched my previous videos, you already know what I do with Java and Rust. So I like to compare the performance between Java and Rust. Um, and I try to make sure that the benchmark is close enough. All right. So enough with the chat. Let's go to the code part. Let me pull up the IntelliJ IDE and Rust rover. All right, so what we are going to do today would be first thing I will show you how we write to Excel file using Java, and then the second thing I'll do is show you how we write do the same thing through Rust, and I will explain you at a very high level what this code does. I have everything ready to go. All right. So, and also, if you note here, I'm using IntelliJ IDE for the Java programming, and for Rust, I'm using Rust Rover. Both of them are the product of JetBrains, I believe. So, yes, JetBrains. All right. So now moving on to the Java side of things, right? So what we will do here is we'll write to a we'll write a same exact Excel file, Excel sheet that will have the name of a person, age, and then we'll add like a license Bob, and the saving will also be at the immediate path. That way, the comparison is close enough. Same thing with the Rust. Um, all right, so okay, now starting with the package that I'm using here to create an Excel file and then write into the Excel sheet, right? So I'm using Apache Poi for writing to Excel sheet here, Apache. All you have to do is go to POM file, add the dependency, and you should be good to go. Yeah, you can ignore all of these. This was for some other demos that I used. So yeah, I just have to use this Apache Poi dependency. It needs to be good to go there. Okay, so what are we doing here? So what we are doing here is first thing we are starting a timer. That way we can compare the time taken to create a new instance of a workbook, add values to cell, and then finally print out the Excel right there, right? So all right, so we will import the workbook from Apache itself, and then we'll instantiate with the workbook that we use, and we're using XS workbook because this has to do with Excel, right? Now, uh, to to write into Excel, one thing to always note that Excel is always a matrix, right? So if you look at closely, what we are doing is we are doing the first row as a header. So, like if you start from 0, comma 0, 0, comma 1, 0, comma 2 to the top, and then 1, comma 0, 1, then 2, comma 0 down. So likewise, right? So I wish this was cleaner like Rust. Well, it's not, but you will get the gist of it. So we'll create a row, first row. We'll name it as, so see, 0, comma 0 would be name, and then 0, comma 1 would be age, and then we'll put the values below. So 1, comma 0 would be ls, and then 1, comma 1 would be um, the age of that. So if I go back just to make it clear, right? Let me open a Excel sheet actually. Let's see. Yeah, so like see this here, 0, comma 0. Um, I don't want to buy Excel. I don't have money. All right. Yeah, yeah. No, I'm not gonna quit as well. Okay, so 0 out of 0, comma 0 would be this one, 0, comma 1, 0, comma 3, and then 0, comma. So if you do 0, comma 1, and then this will be like 1, comma 0. Right. So comma means the location of that Excel, right? So and that's what we are doing here in Java side of things. We're saying, hey, this will be the location of the name is and so on. So these are pretty static values. There are ways to add dynamic values too, but for the demo, I will be using some static values here, right? All right. So once we create the rows, once we create headers, row one and row two, what we'll do is we'll write it to a file, right? So Java example is the file here. Let me close this out. All right. So now then we'll write to a file and then it will create the file for us. All right, pretty simple, easy to follow along. All right, so I'm moving to Rust now. Now for Rust, what we have done here is let's start with the cargo. So cargo here is same as POM, right? POM.xml is similar to what cargo.toml does. So what we are going to do is we are going to import this library. XLS writer is from Rust. And it's even suggesting me to use the latest one. I haven't tried latest one, so I will not try on this video at least. And to log, I'm using the version 0.4 and then environment logger here to because we're wrapping off the logging used here with the environment logger. So and again, you won't need all of these. I was using this for some other demos. If you go back and watch my other demos, you'll see the dependency being used here. The dependency that we're using here is this one. Well, we call it libraries in Rust. All right, so now moving on to the main class. We already imported, let's see, yeah, already imported this, and we're saying that, hey, we're going to use this one, and we are going to handle the error head. If it's okay, great, no error to handle, and if the error happens, then this class will take care of it, right? So, all right, cool. Now I talked about wrapping up the logging, right? So this is what we're talking about. So we're saying, hey, from this environment, meaning this local, use the logging as info label. So I'm just going to copy this and I'm going to paste here on the Java side. That way we can just like quickly compare. So it's similar to what we did here, right? So yeah, similar to what we did here. We use the logger object and then we got the logger out of this class. So something along those lines is what we're doing here. Okay, so let's go back to Rust. Okay. All right, and same thing, we are instantiating the timer before we write to a file. And one thing to note here is this is Rust, right? So by default, your objects that you create are not mutable, meaning immutable. So let's see if you have to change any object, you have to add the keyword mut, however you spell it. I call it mut, like mut. Let mut workbook. That way you can like change the values because see we are manipulating, right? So let's see if I remove this, it's gonna complain saying that hey, I didn't like what you are doing. So um, yeah, and then instantiating is done with this new function here. With Java, we'd put like new and then instantiate that object workbook. So now, this is something I like about Rust. This, right? See, it's clearly saying the row would be the 0, column would be 0, and put a name is, and you just have to keep on saying that. And I think doing this will help reduce the error on the coding side of things. See, clear the instruction, there's less chance of making mistakes, right? So, let me copy this and go back to Java and let me show you. See, and even less number of lines, I would say. See, there you go. So this much of will cover whatever we wrote here all the way, right? So easy to read through, easy to troubleshoot is what I think here. Well, it's easy to troubleshoot here as well, but that's my opinion here on this one. All right, let's remove this. Let's go back to Rust again. Yeah, and then we do the same thing as we did for Java, and then we'll save this to this path, default path, the path of the context of this project, which is this one, right? Um, Okay, so and then we'll write it if something happens, it'll error out, and then this uh, like just as an exception object, we will handle it separately. All right, cool. And then we will calculate the time in milliseconds. Okay, now we'll use some graph thingy to compare which one ran faster and wrote to a file. So for this, I'm using live gap chart, which is free. I mean, you obviously can pay $25 a month if you're gonna go pro, but live gap is a pretty good tool to use for. Okay, all right. So I will run Java. I'll run like 7 times. We'll capture the time here, and then we'll go to the Rust next. Alrighty. So running Java and see. Let's see how long it will take to create an Excel file, and then write all this data in there. Obviously, build time will take time with Java. Same thing with Rust. So, but yeah, let's say this is a production app. You just don't go and do a build every time, right? So, okay, what happened? Okay, it's just an ID error, but the file was written successfully. Okay, 2042 milliseconds, which is like 2 seconds. All right. Okay. Let's go to Java again. Let's run this. Now it should run quickly because all the build has been done. Um, okay, 1861. I think I'm going to just use I'm not going to use the decimals, so it's easier to read through. So let's go and remove this guy right here. Okay. And let's do that again. Yeah. I think one of the thing that might be slowing this down is this debug, right? I think like let's say if this is a production, I would like not add a disable debug. But anywho, let's go to this, copy this guy here. Okay. All right. Okay, 1952. Okay, 1874. And let's run this again. $17.98. And let's run this again. Okay. All right. So we have the count here. All right. Now let's move to Rust and see what we see there. Okay. All right. Okay. Now going on with the Rust. Oh, one thing, right? Let me just quickly check. Um, just to see it actually created the file. Yeah, it did. Um, okay. All right, let's see what ROS does. So, oh boy, 16 milliseconds. Yeah, I'm telling you, ROS is pretty fast. And all the videos that I have done, I have seen ROS pretty doing good all the time actually. I think there was one if you have to go and watch the video. I think there was one case where Java won speed wise, but yeah, kudos to the Ross team. They are doing pretty good actually, and that's one of the reason I guess I'm falling in love with Rust more. The more I use Rust. Okay, 18 seconds. Okay, all right, 16 seconds. Uh, And obviously, it also depends on the libraries or dependency that you use. Um, Apache uses, sorry, Java uses Apache. So Apache is also a very, very performant library. But looks like compared to the Rust XLS writer, it could be slower. So yeah, we just can't blame everything in Java. I think we should like not blame, we should look for um, you know, why this is slow compared to the libraries and kind of copy what Rust is doing good to back to Java's library, aka Apache Poet. Okay. All right. Well, we're not going to go there and do that today, analyze the packages, but thinking out loud here while I like chat here in this video. Okay, let's see, 15 seconds. All right, boy. Okay, so, as you see here, um, yeah, the time taken for Rust to write to a file is way, way faster than Java. Right now the thing we'll have to notice here is this, right? It really depends on there's so many factors to it, right? We cannot say, Rust will be pretty fast in production. We see, I haven't tested writing, let's say, 100,000 Excel sets in an hour or so, or a minute, right? I'm not running any batches. We don't know. But if I were to say that on my local machine, when I'm running 7 iteratives of Excel set file, Rust seems to win the game pretty easily. All right, so yeah, hopefully, you learned something along from this video. And once again, thank you for staying up all the way to the end, and make sure to go and check my other videos. Thank you.